So first up, we want to introduce our first speaker, Mr. Dee Brown. He has a 27-year record of real estate sales, development, management, and success, overseeing all phases of multi-million-dollar construction, infrastructure, water, sewer, and environmental projects for government and private sector clients. Mr. Brown is the president and CEO of the P3 Group, the nation's largest minority public-private partnership developer, over $3 billion in capital. Mr. Brown holds the honor of being the first minority Department of Defense contractor to hold a federal contract with the U.S. Navy Nuclear Power Command at Goose Creek, South Carolina. So let's go ahead and welcome Mr. Brown to the stage.
Good evening, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to be here at Jacksonville's first annual MET Gala. Give yourselves a round of applause for pulling this excellent event off. I'm not going to keep you long tonight, but I want to come and just talk to our African-American entrepreneurs and business people that are in the audience, as well as the ones that may be aspiring to be future business owners and entrepreneurs, to just talk about some of the things that it takes to reach success in the business community, especially as an African-American business owner. So this evening, I'm going to touch on just a couple critical points. We're going to talk about mindset. We're going to talk about vision, discipline, commitment, empowerment, and most importantly, reinvestment. And so as we kind of talk about these things, I'm going to tell a few stories that relate to my actual experiences to help tie together the concepts that I'm going to give you. And so we'll talk about mindset first, right? Because if you're going to be in business for yourself, you have to have the mindset of a winner. You really have to have the mindset of a killer, right? And so we look at the lion, right? The lion is the king of the jungle. But if you kind of look at the facts surrounding the lion, there's no real logical reason why the lion should be the king of the jungle, because the lion is not the biggest animal in the jungle, right? That's the elephant. It's not the fastest animal in the jungle, right? That's the cheetah. And it's not the smartest animal in the jungle, because that's the orangutan. But yet the lion is the king of the jungle. And the reason that the lion is the king of the jungle is for one reason and one reason only. It's mindset. It's the mindset of the lion that makes it the king of the jungle. And I played football in high school. And so those of you that play sports can understand that lion mentality, right? Because the things that we learn in athletics, if you take those things and pull them into your business practices and into your professional careers, can actually assist you in being successful in business. And so I remember as a sophomore in high school, I had worked out all summer, was one of the strongest guys on the team, and the first day of summer practice, the coach had me on third string outside linebacker. First day of summer practice. T-shirts, helmets, no shoulder pads, just shorts. All we had on was a helmet, and I was third string, but I had put in the work. I thought that, maybe I would get a shot, but the guy in front of me was a senior. And he really had the rite of passage for that position. And I talked to the coach about it going into the summer practice, and he said, basically, D, you're not gonna wake up, walk out the house and trip on something, look down, and it's just be success, right? It's just, you stumbled upon it, right? You're gonna have to work for this. So the first day of summer practice, helmets, t-shirts, and shorts, they ran first string defense, they ran second team defense, and then when they got to the third team defense, it was my time. And I'm out there and I'm thinking like, wait a minute now. I'm gonna have to do something to stand out. I'm gonna have to do something that really set me apart, because this guy is a senior and he's been here and he's paid his dues, and I'm not gonna get this position easily. So the first play from scrimmage, when they ran a sweep to the strong side outside linebacker, which was me. And we had on nothing but helmets, t-shirts and shorts. And I flattened him like a pancake, like we was full gear. And we got into a little scuffle. Next page from scrimmage, I did the same thing. And from that day forward, every time I practiced at 100%. Short version is we were doing 2-a-day practices. When we came back to the second practice that day, coach said when it was time to call out the number one defense, he said, I'm gonna call it out position by position. He called out every player. It was the same as it was at the first practice, except I was the number one outside linebacker. And so I'm saying it to say this, it's the same principle in business. You have to get up every day understanding that you're gonna have obstacles that you're gonna face, you're gonna have challenges that you're gonna have to overcome, but you have to have that mentality of a lion to go out here and compete and be successful in this competitive environment, which takes us to the next section, or the next topic rather, which is vision. In order to be successful, you must have vision. Now, here's the issue. The Bible teaches us that where there is no vision, right? Some of y'all know the rest of it. I know we got at least one preacher in the audience, so I know where there is no vision, what happens? People perish. The same thing in your business. You must have a clear, defined vision of where you're trying to go. Because the vision is the fuel behind the discipline, right? Because if you don't know where you're going, if you don't have this roadmap to tell you where you're headed, then there's no way for you to be disciplined enough to follow what's necessary to get there. And so when we talk about vision, you may be a new company, a startup company, you may be an existing company. You know, Blockbuster went out of business because they lost their vision, right? They didn't realize that there was a threat against them where they had to adapt to what was going on in the current marketplace. And so in your business, you have to not only have in your business, you have to have a vision to get started, but you have to have visions updated so that you can stay competitive. So a perfect example of that from my perspective was COVID-19. When COVID-19 hit and shut everything down, from a business perspective, we really didn't know what was gonna happen and how it was gonna turn out. But we knew that out of every tragedy, out of every disaster, there is a business opportunity. That's just a fact, no matter what it is. Every disaster, every tragedy presents a unique opportunity from a business perspective. So as a company, as real estate developers who develop projects for the government, we began to design all of our projects with COVID-19 responses integrated into the designs. Things such as negative air pressure to prevent the airborne spread of infectious diseases. Things such as drive-through COVID-19 testing facilities. Student unions that can be converted to pandemic centers in the event of a disaster. And so what we did through that innovation and thought, we were able to attract millions of dollars in funds from a variety of sources to help offset the cost of those projects for the government agencies that we were working with. So being able to be under fire, under pressure, but understanding that you must have a clear vision and a clear path that you're taking towards your success is very, very important. And so next we'll talk about discipline, which is the third thing that I want to talk about, discipline. Now here's the fact. Only 1% of people are really willing to do what it takes to be successful. Only 1%. So you can look at it from this perspective. Everybody want to go to heaven, right? But don't nobody want to die. You know? So everybody wants to be successful, but nobody wants to pay the price of success, right? Nobody wants to pay nobody wants to be disciplined. And so when we talk about discipline, we're talking about the ability for your mind to control your body, not your body to control your mind, if you follow what I'm saying. So I'll give you an example. I went 3 years without eating meat. Ate no meat for 3 years. Not that I was on an anti-meat campaign or anything like that, or not for any type of health reasons. I just wanted to prove that my mind controlled my body. And so the problem that we have from a discipline standpoint is that we make decisions every day that are not in our own best interest. And so becoming disciplined allow you to start making decisions that actually benefit you and benefit your business and benefit your family and benefit the stakeholders that have put their faith and trust behind you in business. And so that's very important, discipline. And then we'll talk about commitment, because you can't be committed to anything, right, unless you are disciplined. Now, there's a difference, and those of you who own business can follow along with me. Some people contribute to your success. They're contributors to everything you do. But then there are other people within your circle that are actually committed. And when we talk about commitment, we're talking about being committed from the standpoint of to the process that it takes to be successful, being committed to your employees, to the promises and the things that you promise them and their families when they come to work for you, to contractors and subcontractors, vendors and suppliers who support what you're doing. And so my son asked me one day, Dad, what is the difference between commitment and a contributor? And so this is the example I gave him was, I said, well, what did you have for breakfast this morning? He said, I had bacon and eggs. I said, okay. The chicken was a contributor to your meal. Laid the egg, kept it moving. The pig made a commitment. He went whole hog. He paid the ultimate sacrifice to be part of this process, right? And so there's a significant difference between being a contributor, right? Some people want to get on the bandwagon and ride the bandwagon for contributing, which is great. We need contributors. But in order for us to be successful in business, we have to be committed. And commitment means that whenever your capital run out, whenever your capacity run out, your character kicks in. Your character kicks in and make you honor those obligations that you've made to vendors, suppliers, clients, employees, etc. That's where the actual commitment comes into this process. And so next, after commitment, we'll talk about empowerment. Now, this is something that's really important for us as African-American-owned business owners. Empowering the people and the people within the communities that we serve. As business owners, the goal, people come to me all the time. The first thing they want to know, Dee Brown, how can I be rich and how can I get one of these yachts you got? That's what they want to know. That's the first thing they want to know. They want to start at the end, they want to start at the last chapter in the book and read backwards. But the reality is we have to start at the beginning, right? We have to start at the first chapter. So in order for us to grow and really compete in this global economy, as African-American business owners, we have to start empowering people. We have to empower our staff. We have to empower our contractors, our subcontractors. So how do we do that? We do that by paying fair wages. You can't walk around and drive around in a Bentley and then your staff, they're worried about their health care coverage. They don't understand how they're going to be able to take care of their family. You can't be the only person in the equation successful. So you have to empower your staff. So when you do that, that means that you have to be, as a business owner, you have to be able to leave capital within your company to reinvest in your business. That means you have to pay staff salaries that are competitive with Fortune 500 and Fortune 1000 companies. You can do it, just don't buy the Bentley yet, right? Don't just wait. Just wait a minute. I'm not going to buy it this year. I'm going to buy it next year. Put the money back into the people. So I'll tell you a quick story about empowering people. We were doing a project in Arkansas, and the general contractor, minority contractor, needed a $12 million surety bond to execute the work. It was a negotiated contract with me. I gave it to him, laid it on his desk. And he was going through the Small Business Administration for the surety bond to get a guarantee. And 2 days before the transaction was closing, the Small Business Administration sent an email and said that he needed $600,000 in working capital deposited with the surety company in order for them to issue the bonds. It's 2 days before closing. And within the contract document, it said either the owner of the project or the contractor could do this. And so I advanced $600,000 to this contractor. to get those surety bonds, $12 million worth of surety bonds. He was barely able to get that done. And today, 2 years later, that contractor can bond over $50 million on his own without any assistance from me. That's building capacity. Going into these communities, hiring people, paying them livable wages, providing adequate access to health care, providing them 401ks so they can have retirement plans. Being able to compete is critical to our success as African-American businesses, because otherwise, when we hire talent, they're gonna leave and go work for companies that provide these benefits. So you're gonna have a high turnover rate. And so the last thing I want to talk about is reinvestment. And this is a critical piece of what we do within my company. When we talk about reinvestment, we're saying that, yeah, every year, whether you're an LLC, most people do LLC, so the money kind of trickle down to the individual owners. But what are you doing to reinvest that capital within your team that's making you successful? What are you doing to reinvest a portion of that capital within the communities that you're using to enrich yourself from, right? What are you doing to reinvest into these assets that are making you who you are as a business, right? And so some of the things we're doing is we formed a nonprofit foundation a few years ago, and we're using our foundation to actually go into HBCUs and do programs where we not only provide them capital, but we also provide them endowments. We provide them with access to technical assistance. And so one of the projects we're doing in the Virgin Islands with an HBCU, the University of the Virgin Islands, we're actually taking their entire campus in St. Thomas and St. Croix off the energy grid for electricity, where we're gonna self-generate all their electricity requirements through solar and backup batteries. And by doing this transaction, UVI, not only will they reduce their carbon footprint by 100%, they'll become energy independent for electricity. We're gonna endow them with an upfront payment of $19 million, which is critical to them getting the accreditation for their medical school program. And then we're gonna endow them with another $120 million over a 40-year period of time, which is the life of the contract with the university. These are the type of programs that we're doing to actually empower and reinvest within the communities. So it can't just be a win situation. It has to be a win-win situation. It has to be a win for us as business people. It has to be a win for the clients, a win for the community, the stakeholders, and the stakeholders include everyone that's impacted by the projects that we're executing, or by the work that you're doing within your local communities. And so just to summarize this for you, we talk about, in the beginning, we talked about the mindset, right? If you have that lion mindset, then you would be able to clearly identify your vision, which is your roadmap for success within your organization. And if you have a clear vision of where you're going, then and only then can you make sound decisions on what you should and shouldn't do, because everybody in the world is going somewhere, but only a small percentage are actually deliberate and know where they're going. And so you'll know where you're going. And then if you have the discipline, it would allow you to have the courage to stand behind the commitments that you make to your clients, the commitments that you make to your employees, and the commitments that you make to other stakeholders. And then by standing behind those commitments, then you will be in a position to empower. You'll be able to empower your team members, your staff. You'll be able to empower others within the communities. And then you will have the dividends that you can reinvest within those communities that you're operating within. And so I'm gonna just leave you guys with this. Dream big, have big visions, but you have to execute. Most people have great ideas, but they never execute on them because they don't have the discipline and they don't have the commitment. And so here's my last closing thought to you all. Just imagine this visual representation I'm about to give you. You're on your deathbed, and you know you're about to take your final breath any minute now. And you look up and at the foot of your bed, you see all of the ghosts that represent all your talents, all your skills, all the things that you could have done. Those ghosts are standing at the foot of your bed staring at you saying, you let us down. You had the ability, God gave you the tools to execute on us, but you chose not to do it. You chose to just not take advantage of all of the talent and skills that we could have brought to bear. And instead of us being able to live on and affect future generations and be part of your legacy, you're taking us to the grave with you. Good night.
All right, let's give Mr. Brown another round of applause. I can tell you I had the pleasure of speaking with Mr. Brown before we started the event tonight, and he is very passionate and very knowledgeable about his business, and he is very proud of what he does, as he should be, with a lot of great advice. He talked about having that vision and discipline that we all need, and one thing that I really picked up, he said, once you have a dream, do it. So often we think to ourselves, I want to do this, I want to do that, but I probably can't do it. You just got to step out on faith and do it.